How do you do, y'all? This is John, and today we're talking about Ballerina, a new movie out in theaters right now. And then Ballerina deals with the Rusko Roma, a criminal organization from the John Wick movies, who recruit this little girl whose father had just been killed. Years later, the little girl, Eve McCarroll, she is now a grown woman, a full-fledged assassin, and she thinks it's now time to find the people responsible for her father's murder. And so she defies orders and goes and tries to find them. Now, to get things started, first and foremost, what I liked about the movie. Ana de Armas in this film, she is, real dang good. Ana de Armas is a really good actress. I like her a lot. She has been in quite a few things lately, and, she's just killing it right now. There's this fierceness in her eyes and in her face when, she is fighting with the bad guys, with, the killers trying to stop her from finding her father's murderer. And, it's very convincing. With the amount of work it looked like she put into with the stunts and the fighting and stuff like that, I would not be surprised if she was very exhausted a lot during filming. She really acted her butt off on this film, and it shows a lot. On top of that, her character, Eve McCarroll, her character, she is definitely a character worth remembering. And, I would not mind seeing more movies with her in it. The way they develop Eve in this film, and with, her decision to join the Ruska Roma, it makes you question whether or not she truly made the choice to join them. And that definitely has an effect on her a little bit. On top of that, Eve McCarroll, she is a human being. She gets hurt, she gets damaged in the film. Not all of her fights are clean. Some of them, her opponent provides a real challenge for her. I mean, like, heck, the first fight scene you see her, and it's her first mission ever. And, that was not clean at all. She barely succeeded. And like I said, she takes some serious damage in the film. She gets cut, she gets bruised, she bleeds. And all the while, you're definitely, concerned as to whether or not she's going to make it out of this whole situation alive. Now, the question that a lot of people are probably going to ask is she better than John Wick? Absolutely not. They make very evident of it. She is most definitely not better than John Wick. And I ain't going to spoil how they establish that. But she is growing into one heck of an assassin throughout this film. Now, how are the action scenes, the combat scenes? Well, this movie was directed by Len Wiseman. And in my opinion, he's a very underappreciated director. The guy, in the early 2000s and well into the late 2000s, showed a lot of promise as an action film director, especially with what he did on the first Underworld movie. And, after that mess of a remake of Total Recall, he hasn't done much since. He's back now, he directed this movie, and oh boy, is he back. The action and the combat is brutal and hard-hitting. There's this one sequence with this character that has a shotgun. And every time that shotgun went off, it felt like the whole theater vibrated. That's how hard-hitting the combat is in this film. Now, the story is kind of average, kind of generic, but is at least executed very well. Because, like I said, the main character, strong motivations, been used before, but strong motivations, she's well, strongly written, played by a really good actress. And the writers were at least able to make everything fun and entertaining. There's not really a boring moment in the film, but the story is definitely a little generic and, kind of average. Now, in terms of problems with the movie, there is definitely a bit of a continuity error because this is supposed to take place between John Wick Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. And while there are characters that die in Chapter 4 that are in this movie, there's also a couple characters that I thought died in Chapter 3. But they're in this film. I don't know what the heck happened there. Because Chapter 3 came out, 6 years ago? They should have known. They should have known that these characters were supposed to be dead. But they're here. There's also some characters that in all the marketing they made a big deal about. However, when it boils down to it, they're barely in the movie, and you're just in there going, okay, well, what was the big deal about these people that all the trailers were kind of making a huge deal about? Because, again, they're barely in the film, and they barely even do anything. There's also this one addition to John Wick lore and everything that I feel is very underdeveloped. It regards this cult and, when they introduce it, when they explain it, when they, show them, it didn't feel developed properly and not as, entirely fitting for the series. It's very weird, and I just simply didn't get it. In addition to that, there are also some connections between the main character and this cult that they briefly mention and don't do anything more with. So guys, at the end of the day, Ballerina, I thought this was a good movie. It's not great, and it most certainly is not as good as the main John Wick movies. However, as it stands as a spin-off, this was really good. It's fun, it's entertaining. Eve McCarroll, she's awesome. Ana de Armas is real dang good as Eve. The combat is great, and Len Wiseman does a fantastic job at executing everything. Unfortunately, there are a few continuity errors. The main villain and his cult is kind of underdeveloped. And there are some characters in this movie that they made a big deal about that didn't really amount to much. But as it stands, I enjoyed it. And, if you guys are looking for some entertainment, this is not a bad watch. I'm going to give Ballerina a 7. Well, that's all the time I have for today. Please look forward to more videos real soon. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please also subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, please remember, the Podetsky will return.